600 years ago, almost everyone on Earth thought that the universe revolved around our planet. It was a very comfortable situation. The cycle of our days, the cycle of our seasons, all fit easily into the revolutions of the sun, the moon, the planets, and the distant stars. There were some questions about the overall pattern created by the celestial bodies. For instance, sometimes the planets appeared to move backwards, but what we did know made us feel at home on our Earth. Our myths and ceremonies all reinforced our centrality and wholeness, and provided meaning for our lives on the Earth, surrounded by a host of other beings in the sky that guided and influenced our human lives and society. Then, a series of brilliant and brave scientific explorers, Copernicus, Galileo, Kepler, Newton, and many others, revealed the true pattern of the universe, that the moon did indeed orbit the Earth, but all the other planets, including Earth, orbited the sun. And the stars were not fixed on some celestial sphere, but were instead scattered randomly throughout space, millions and billions of miles away. This new understanding of the universe led to an explosion of new discoveries. The laws of motion, of gravity, thermodynamics, relativity, and quantum mechanics that have given us knowledge and power we could never have imagined 600 years ago. But these discoveries and knowledge have left many of us feeling lost and uncomfortable on our Earth and in our universe. How now do we relate to the rising and setting of the sun? How do the phases of the moon affect us? Is there any truth to the ancient science of astrology, which claims that the planets and stars have an impact on our human bodies and human society? We know so much more about the planets and the stars than we ever did before. It may be time to take a look at our place in the universe from a new, or is it old, point of view. 62 years ago, the Earth's magnetosphere was discovered, and we now know that most of the planets and all of the stars have extremely complex, information-dense magnetospheres. Ancient astrology offered no mechanism for the planetary influence on human bodies. Could it be due to solar and planetary magnetospheres and their correspondence with endocrine chakras? You would have to accept the fact that we are electromagnetic beings, sensitive to invisible and subtle electromagnetic stimuli. Also, within the past 40 years, a new science of chronobiology has emerged, which studies periodic phenomena in living organisms and their adaptation to solar and lunar-related rhythms. We now know the circadian rhythm and the seasonal year are deeply rooted in our DNA. All this and more we will consider as we take a look at the revolutionary new Monad Planetary Calendar Clock. Hi, I'm Keith Whitten, and when I created the Monad Calendar Clock, I wanted to combine the exciting discoveries of modern science and the detailed knowledge that we've gained of the world around us, with the connectedness to nature and the sense of wonder that we once had and seem to have lost. For thousands of years, people used sundials to tell the time of day, to help them know when to go to market, meet their friends, or attend religious services. The shadow cast by the gnomon of a sundial is like the rotating hand of a clock, but the experience of using a sundial is much different from using a mechanical clock. On a sundial, the daytime period between sunrise and sunset is divided into 12 hours, and an hour is longer in the summer than it is in the winter. Mechanical clocks were invented early in the 14th century. They literally ticked and tocked as the hands moved in circles around a numbered dial to indicate what time it was. These new devices divided time into short, equal units that were easy to use and remember. With a mechanical clock, all you need to know is that an hour is the time it takes for the hour hand to move from one number to the next, and an hour is always the same length, no matter what time of year. Also, for thousands of years, people would determine what constellations were visible in the night sky in order to tell the time of year or date, to help them know when to plant seeds or start harvesting their crops. ancient astronomers developed elaborate Earth-centered celestial spheres and precisely mapped the paths of the sun and the moon, the planets and the constellations, and they could predict eclipses, equinoxes, and solstices with amazing accuracy. Displaying all this knowledge of the time and date was a matter of great pride to the people who understood it, and some cities competed to see who could create the most elaborate celestial calendar clocks, which were often installed in town squares where everyone could see them and benefit from their information. One of the most amazing mechanical calendar clocks that still exist today was constructed in Prague, the capital of what is now the Czech Republic, in 1410. Here are a few of the main features. This faded inner circle shows the north hemisphere of Earth, fixed and unmoving, which is how people thought of the Earth 600 years ago. The sun is attached to the hour hand. It's about 4 p.m. You see the sun rise in the east, move clockwise across the sky. At noon, the hour hand is pointing straight up and the sun is directly overhead, and then the sun sets in the west. At midnight, the hour hand is pointing down. The sun seemingly makes one full revolution around the fixed Earth every 24 hours. This clock face shows both the regular mechanical hours and the unequal hours measured by a sundial, which are longer in the summer and shorter in the winter. It even has a feature that shows the time of sunset for any time of year. This ring structure here represents the celestial sphere, showing the location of the sun as it circles the ecliptic, passing through all 12 signs of the zodiac, which are really just the 12 months of a seasonal year. The sun is currently in the sign of Cancer, the moon is in Libra. This calendar clock provides a lot of useful information for an agrarian or agricultural society where the vast majority of people were involved in farming or gardening and highly dependent on the rhythms of nature which this calendar clock measures: the solar day, the lunar month, and the seasonal year. The year 1543, Copernicus published a book describing the heliocentric or sun-centered universe, triggering the scientific revolution. This eventually led to the Industrial Revolution, which began in 1781 when James Watt improved the steam engine, the first reliable motor. Industrial societies use external energy sources, such as fossil fuels, to increase the rate and scale of production. The production of food is shifted to large commercial farms and gardens, where the products of industry, such as combine harvesters and fossil fuel-based fertilizers, are used to decrease human labor while increasing production. No longer needed for the production of food, excess labor is moved from the country into cities and factories, where mechanization is utilized to further increase efficiency, often to the level of automation. Traditional cultures that based their lives on the seasonal changes in the natural world slowly transformed into our modern scientific culture that tends to measure, quantify, and devalue the wholeness of the natural world. I created the monad calendar clock using the insights of modern science to reconnect us back to the natural biorhythms of seasonal nature. It's been over 600 years since the Prague calendar clock was built, and we now know that the sun is not orbiting the fixed Earth once per day. Earth is spinning and makes a complete rotation every day relative to the sun, which is fixed at noon at the top of a 24-hour dial. Monad automatically places a time zone spanning hour hand at your location on the globe, but you can move the hour hand to any longitude or latitude anywhere around the globe. See where it changes from black to white on the number dial? That indicates the time of sunrise. Watch how this changes as I adjust the latitude of the hour hand. Now, because computers can store huge amounts of information and calculate positions far faster than mechanical clocks, Monad can rapidly shift backwards and forward in time, all while accurately representing the changing configuration of the solar system. Monad features planet Earth at the center of a time and date-telling celestial ring. but you can also observe all of this activity from the more modern, sun-centered perspective in helio or heliocentric mode. Then there's astro mode, which features a two-dimensional calendar clock face that allows you to set the time by dragging the hour hand, or set the date by dragging the calendar band, or to go faster, drag the zodiac band. You could drag the date all the way back to your birthday and check out your birth chart. This table at the top of the screen shows the precise location of the sun, moon, and planets for any time and date. Astro Mode will eventually feature an educational astronomy program and a scientific astrology program. Monad also has an event manager which embodies the principles of chronobiology and allows you to record personal events, including your personal biorhythms, in the context of planetary events we all share. You can also record events in the now. Monad does so much more than just tell the time and date. Monad is a worthy successor to the Prague calendar clock, appropriately sophisticated for our modern industrial society, and also a timely reminder of our collective purpose here on this living planet. We are the gardeners and caretakers of the planetary biosphere. 95% of the biomass of the biosphere organisms is made up of plants and the soil bacteria that facilitates their growth. Animals, including us humans, make up less than 1% of the biomass of the biosphere. Monad measures and demonstrates the planetary biorhythms of the predominantly plant-based biosphere. These biorhythms, the solar day, lunar month, and seasonal year, involve the distribution of heat and light from the sun and moon to photosynthetic plants all around the globe. Now, we no longer have an agrarian society, but 100% of the population is still dependent on plants to keep us alive. Plants generate the oxygen we need to breathe, the food we need to eat, and most of the raw materials we use to keep our industrial society going. Plants make our lives possible. They take care of us as long as we take care of them. And this is where we are failing as a society. We are allowing our plant partners to be exploited and destroyed for the short-term gain of a few reckless individuals. A wise society will carefully conserve 3 different plant populations. Number 1 is wild plants, which are uncultivated, but they generate the bulk of the atmospheric oxygen we breathe. The ongoing destruction of the rainforest is equivalent to the destruction of the lungs of the photosynthetic organism that is the living solar system, whose heart planet we live on. Number 2, cultivated plants are part of our agricultural effort to provide a reliable source of fruit, seeds, nuts, roots, leaves, and other vegetables and other plant parts we eat to power our human bodies. And number 3 is fossilized plants, which have been transformed over millions of years into fossil fuel, which can be used to power motors and vehicles, and should be used sparingly because they heat the environment, they release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and the fuel refinement process generates huge amounts of plastic waste that is filling the earth with pollution. All right, what time is it? I'll tell you what time it is. It's time to throw out the ordinary clock and calendar and use Monad to tell the planetary time and date. Anyone who uses Monad as their clock and calendar will find it much easier to understand and visualize the planetary biosphere. Mother Nature has predictable rhythms measured by the calendar clock, yet she is still capable of surprising us in so many ways. We need to rediscover the love and respect for nature and plants that we had 600 years ago, and make restoration of the biosphere a priority in our personal lives and political agenda. Monad is an essential tool for a more globally conscious humanity.